Welcome in, guys, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin. I'm here with my co-host James Haskell, and this video we're joined by our draft experts, Hanz picked brothers Craig and Danny Henzelka, to help break down another position in the upcoming draft this year. And this time we're going to focus on, I think, consensus, our number one need on the defensive side of the ball between the both of us, and that's inside linebacker. There's been a lot of mocks. They've been projecting the Ravens to take an inside linebacker in the first round. So we're going to go ahead and break down not only the first round, but maybe get a little deeper and see if we can find some steals later on in the draft. All
yeah,
right.
so where I want to start is with Glenn's number one pick. I want to put his feet to the fire a little bit, guys. Give us Glenn's number one pick at 28 for the Ravens is Murray out of Oklahoma, inside linebacker. Give us your grade on Murray. Tell us if he's worth the 28th pick or if Glenn's just as crazy as I think he is.
So personally, going through the inside linebackers, I think there's three that could be day ones depending on what you consider Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons played safety, outside linebacker, inside linebacker. He even played corner. So I'm kind of excluding him, and he's going to be a top 5 pick, so there's no way we trade up that high. So I'm not worrying about him. As far as the two that we have a chance at, Queen and Murray, I think they're both worth day one picks for us. For Queen is my favorite. Queen is the intellectual. When I see Queen, I kind of think of a thief because wherever the ball is, he seems to be right by it, and he kind of steals and stops the play right where it is. Whereas Murray, I think about a freight train. Murray waits. And this is something that bothered me about Murray is that he waits back for like a good second or two before he decides where he's going to go. Some people call it patient. I call it like not ready or not making a choice to where to go. But once he starts moving, he's a freight train. He won't stop. For our 3-4 defense, if you look at our team, we have LJ Fort. We have Chris Ford. And I think LJ Fort's going to be the starter if we draft someone. And LJ Fort is more of a weak side inside linebacker. He's quick. He's good at roaming. So we really do need a thumper in the middle. And I think Kenneth Murray is going to be the absolute best one we can get. When you look at his like adjusted spark score saying how athletic he is, he's like in the 88th percentile of athletes coming into the NFL because he's just so fast and so big. He blows people up, destroys the hole. I wish he could take a little bit of better angles and kind of start it his initial step a little quicker. But overall, he's fantastic. And I actually really like the pick.
All right, Danny, what about you? That's one, Glenn. See if you got two.
Glenn, I'm going to give this pick an A+.
Yes.
We're able to get Kenneth Murray at 28. I think that's a steal. Personally, I don't think he'll be there. Craig said he's a freight train. I think he's a bullet because I think he's straight, fast. He gets everything done that you want to get done inside linebacker. He sees the play so good. He reads everything so well. Craig says he's slow. I say he's reading. That's why Kenneth Murray doesn't get faked out by play action, and Queen does every now and then. Kenneth Murray's able to get a block. I think Kenneth Murray, if he falls to us, is going to be the steal of the first round, personally.
Wow.
Well, let's move on to your pick there, Jimbo, because with your second pick, you predicted that the Ravens would take Malik Harrison out of Ohio State to fill that role. So, Danny, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts on
I think that was my third pick, wasn't it?
Was it your third?
I had him going in the third round.
Well, then that would be your fourth pick, right?
Fourth pick, right?
You got 2 in the second. Okay. All right. So I thought you had him at 55.
He had him at 60. He had him in his second round pick.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Third pick, second round pick. That's right.
All right. Yeah. So what, Danny? Let's start with you. What's your thoughts on Malik Harrison?
So I actually have a 4th round grade on Malik Harrison. Ohio State kid, like he's good. He changes direction quick. My things with him is that he gets overly aggressive too much. Like I was watching tape earlier and there was a screen. He read it great, but he ran in full speed. He didn't think about it. And then the O-lineman just pushed him out of the way and the other team just ran straight forward for a touchdown. And it's like he just has these little mental lapses in his game that I don't feel comfortable taking with that high of a pick. But he has the athleticism to get stuff done.
Okay.
Craig?
You agree?
Well, Jimmy, I got your back.
All
right.
If you, like I said before, you look at LJ Fort in this 3-4, he's going to be the roaming, quicker middle inside linebacker. Think about when we had Peanut and we had Mosley. LJ Fort can do the peanut roll fine. He can roam about and do his thing. We need a thumper. And when I look at this draft, I think Malik Harrison, what I wrote next to him is he's a sledgehammer. When he goes to the hole, wherever the running back is, linemen can't move him. He's too strong. Looking at his adjusted spark, it's at 73 percentile, so he's better than 73% of the NFL linebackers in terms of athleticism. He's got long arms. He's great at block shedding. His problem is he doesn't have the full speed or range to cover the whole field. But for how strong he is, he covers a lot of it. And I really think as a strong side or a strong inside linebacker, I think he's going to do fantastic if he goes to our team. And I think that's 60. I think it could go a little earlier. Like he might end up going around our 55 spot, but I like him there. Like I think that's a solid value pick.
All right. So you talked about Simmons, and that's one of the things that I'm interested about. So you think there's no way ever that we could between a combination of him falling and us having ammunition, there's no world where this could happen.
Absolutely not. This kid is such a freak athlete. This kid can play everywhere. He could be in the top 10, picked in the top 10 to play safety. He could be picked in the top 10 to play inside linebacker. Heck, he could play corner, and he might be a first-round corner. This kid, unbelievable. There's no way you'd have to trade this first, next year's first, and both our twos to even smell him.
So the only thing I'm saying is that we are in win now mode.
There ain't no way, Jimbo. That's too far.
There's no way.
There's no way.
But as soon as we pay Stanley and Lamar
Humphrey.
and Humphrey and friggin' Andrews, we are screwed.
Hey, I saw the cat figures of Kansas City, and they haven't paid Mahomes yet, and they have $600 left. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It literally was in the hundreds.
I saw a recent one that said they have 171.
How has that ever happened?
You have more money in your bank than they have in their bank.
That's crazy. Well, let me ask you, is there and I guess we'll start with Danny on this one. Is there a guy or maybe two guys you see at the top that are getting mocked as first or second round grade that you just see don't fit us or really just don't deserve that grade?
I personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Queen. I like Queen. I think Queen can make all the plays. I think Queen should be an early 2 guy, though, because I think he can get everywhere, but I don't think he's always a consistent tackler, and I don't think he always takes great lanes to the ball. So if there's one guy, Craig's dying over there.
You guys are like Todd and Mel.
The athleticism.
Hold on. I guarantee if you ask 30 GMs, 28 of them will be like, I'll take Queen as my middle linebacker any day of the week. But Queen's not good enough for that guy. So
better than 28 GMs, Craig.
So here, let me follow up with this really quickly. It's funny because you guys talked about Murray and him, being a sure tackler and hitting the hole hard and things like that. Unfortunately, it's bad timing because he was trending on Twitter like 2 days ago where he was getting absolutely trucked. But one of my questions is how much do you take away or how much credit in your draft analysis, how much do you put into the fact that like Oklahoma's defense is like talking about the Kansas City Chiefs defense before they started playing good in the second half of the season, right? Like Oklahoma's known for Heisman quarterbacks for high, but yeah, absolutely. But nobody's talking about their defense. Like everyone's talking about Mahomes and the high power offense. Like Oklahoma has had Kyler Murray, had Jalen Hurts, had Baker Mayfield, had Hollywood Brown. The list goes on, right? So how much do you put into the fact that like, yeah, he's a good player. I don't know how good their defense was. Like empty calories is a thing, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you want to go into that discussion, we could talk about Malik Harrison, who had 2 near first-round cornerbacks that shielded him all day. So, yeah. I mean, it's really hard to negate what the team's doing for that player. Obviously, there's some players that benefit immensely from just like Malik Harrison. There's Chase Young. You got to key up on him. They have Arnett and they have Okuda who are covering the receivers, shutting them down. So does that allow Malik Harrison to get a free run all the time?
Yeah.
Maybe. But all I can do is I can look at the tape, see what reads he makes, see what he does well. And do I think the team's cover for him? Of course I do. But I think he's also making the best play that he can with what his reads are. So that's That's what I think personally.
All right, well, there's a guy I'm thinking the Ravens would have a shot at day 2 that I'm really intrigued by. Although he's a little undersized, I really like the production, the sideline to sideline, and the smarts of this guy. And this is a Troy Dye out of Oregon, linebacker. So Danny, and I'll get both your opinions, but I'll start with Danny. What are your thoughts about Troy Dye, and where do you think he could end up going?
Yeah, I like Troy Dye. I have him right now I have him as an early 4 though. I don't think he has a lot of potential. I think he's pretty close to a finished product for him. He has a lot of trouble getting off a power blocker. If there's any kind of power offensive lineman, they kind of come in, they push him back 10 yards. He has trouble getting through blitzes. I mean, some of the tape I watched might have been bad tape because a couple of them he had a broken thumb, which hurts him. But I saw him miss a lot of tackles. I know he was involved in a lot of tackles as well, but a lot of tackles I saw him get to and not be able to make. Part of that might be the broken thumb, giving him a club on his hand.
Yeah.
Craig?
For me, and you pointed out some good things. I really think he's a day 3 guy. 4th, 5th. I think he has good speed. He has great range, and you're not going to get a lot of guys with that type of range in that round. So, I mean, that's a good plus right there. And like Danny said, the thumb kind of shows his toughness as well. I try to see the pros, and playing through a broken thumb is awesome. That shows toughness. That shows his heart and dedication to the game. He also had really long arms, so sometimes he was able to keep linemen off him with that. But overall, his block shedding was really poor. So when I talked earlier about the 3-4, about having an inside linebacker that's a floater and one that's a thumper, if we have LJ Ford as our starter, I think Dye does a similar thing to Ford. And if in that position, he would do well. But without a strong inside linebacker to take on that tackle that's peeling off, I really think Dye just does what LJ Ford does. So I think he could play for us, and I think he's an okay value around there. But I would rather get someone that complements LJ Fort rather than doing the same thing where a lineman could just eat him up alive.
All right, so I have a follow-up question about the first-round pick. We talked about, I've mentioned this a couple times, obviously we're in win-now mode, and I think that's drastically going to affect our draft. So if we are going to go inside linebacker in the first round, who has – assume that at 28, all of the first-round grades are gone, right? That, like Danny said, he's not sure if Murray is going to be there at 28, right? So who has the chance of being closest to us? Do you see Queen going for sure before Murray? Like, is that a pretty general idea that people are saying? Or is it kind of up in the air that, you know what, Murray might end up off the board before Queen, and we're going to move up with some of the ammunition to go get Queen?
So the consensus, what I've seen, is that Queen is going to be picked earlier than Murray. But I said this in the other video that it is such a crapshoot this year because there's not much communication between scouts and media members, that the media members aren't able to get a good grasp on what the NFL scouts are really feeling. I can't see I feel like this draft in particular, there's about 12 really good players, give or take 2. But then after that, it becomes very what do you want? Because it's all the same. And that was true for the receivers. There's 3 really good ones, and then there's 8 good ones, or 3 great ones, 8 good ones. And then after that, it's just what flavor do you want? So I really think just with Queen and Murray kind of being the big drop-off after inside linebacker, I think they probably will be gone before us, both of them.
But you see, it's more likely that we would move up to go get Murray because Queen's probably going to be off the board first.
I would assume so. But with the draft, you never know, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Well, you guys mentioned, I think you both mentioned, we need a tackling machine. Craig, I think you said sledgehammer. So if those guys are gone, you said it's a pretty big drop. Is there a possibility that if forced to, because of the way the board falls, if they're forced to take a linebacker at 3, is there a guy – on the third day, is there a guy that will be available on the third day that could slide in and fit that role? Danny, if you could start us off.
Yeah, so I actually think there's a big steal on day 3, and that's Evan Weaver out of Cal.
Really good.
Really good. He's a tackling machine between the tackles. He's as good as anybody in the draft outside of the top 2. But his thing is that he has trouble getting sideline to sideline. But if you just watch him, he reads everything so well. He goes through perfect holes. He always gets the ball carrier. It's a tackle every time. He never misses a tackle. Last year, he had 181 total tackles.
What?
And he had 181 total tackles,
Doesn't even sound real.
78 assists. It's nuts.
So to jump on the Weaver train, I when I saw Weaver, first thing I kind of do is kind of look at the combine since I have that information and just write, how big he is and stuff like that. He was like a 28 percentile, so I'm like, going to be athletic. But when I watched him, out of all watched this year, he in one game he jumped as soon as the snap went. He jumped through the line before the linemen were able to stand. It's just he's really great pre-snap reads. He's really good at dissecting the play and getting to the hole for the running back. I think Danny a little bit exaggerated. I do think he misses tackles. I do think he'll miss the play sometimes. But and I really love him. And if you keep him in his lane, you keep him in the box, I think he can do fantastic things. He's definitely someone who would fit that description that I was looking for.
Can I just say one more thing about Evan Weaver? I went through and I looked at his pros and cons, and I went to NFL.com. And did anybody ever see Moneyball, where Billy Bean's like, "Why are you talking about what his girlfriend looks like?" The first thing on there is that he won't be a head turner getting off the bus. Like, if that's the worst thing you can say about a middle linebacker, I'll take him.
So here's a fun story about him, just to kind of give you character to this person. He was on his moped going to class one day, and he ran over by a grandma in her car, and like the medical people come and stuff, didn't have a broken bone, didn't have any injuries. He had like a little bit of road rash, and he's like, "Oh, I'm okay." This guy looks just like Mr. Incredible. If you look up his image, they're like twins. I swear on my life. And that's how, like, every time I hear Weaver, I think about Mr. Incredible playing linebacker. And I'm like, yeah, I could use him as my linebacker.
Well, it sounds like you both really like Weaver, but Craig, is there another guy that you could see on day 3 that could maybe fill that role as well?
So I think when I look at it, I think day 2 might be a good place to get that thumping linebacker. Because if I look at day 3 for me, there's a lot of interesting players. Like I like Shaq Quarterman. He's fun to watch, but it's kind of odd because, like, when the ball gets hiked, he sprint stops. But I think he does some really fun stuff, and I think he might be someone who works for us. But on day 2, I really think Willie Gay, who's a freak athlete, but he did get suspended for fighting teammates and he missed some time. Logan Wilson, who I call Mr. Production, he had 409 tackles and 10 interceptions through his college career. So he's a machine. And then someone who doesn't really fit that thumper mold, but Jordan Brooks is just fast. And he's more of that floating linebacker. But if he fell to us, I would have no problem taking him just because his range is tremendous. So I would love any of those guys in day 2, really.
So if you guys had to predict the future right now, based on what you know about the inside linebackers, what's going to be the Ravens' strategy? Are they going to try and move up in the first round, assuming that Queen and Murray wouldn't fall? We'll assume that they're not going to fall all the way to 28. Or do you see us going for a value in day 2 or day 3? How do you guys see them attacking it?
Go ahead, Danny.
I think if either of the linebackers fall to the early 20s, I could see them trading up, but I couldn't see them moving up into the teens or anything crazy. The most likely scenario for me is honestly that they trade back. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they try to get a second-round pick and then another pick next year. We know DeCosta likes to move. And I know he's been aggressive, but going up into the teens, I've never seen it before, except for a quarterback, and I don't know why. I can't see it happening.
All right, Craig?
I think DeCosta is a lot more aggressive than Ozzie. So would I be totally shocked if he traded a lot of stuff to go up? No, I wouldn't. But it'd have to be someone they really liked. And obviously, I'm not in the Ravens draft room. So could I see him moving up for Murray if they really loved him? I could. I could see them trading a first, a second, and a third. But I don't think they're going to trade away both seconds. I don't think they're going to trade a first from next year. I think they stocked up for a reason. But I'm not 100% sure that the reason they're moving up is to get Murray. because you've seen in the past, we've had Peanut. We've had a ton of other linebackers that were just no names. Even Josh Bynes, undrafted linebackers that we were able to form into the right position and have them be successful. So it's hard for me to think that they think Murray is worth a first and another first when they could get someone in the third or second day and kind of form them to be all just good but not great like Murray. I think we trade up, it's got to be for something that's essential to us. And I think inside linebacker is important, but I don't think it's essential. Like if we saw, I don't know, I can't even think of a situation we trade up 2 firsts for, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, any chance that they go through this whole draft and don't take an inside linebacker at any point?
I'm really surprised personally. There's not a lot of high end after the first 2. There's a little bit of a lull, but towards the end, there's a lot of really talented plug and play guys that we could put in and probably get us 70 tackles since we don't have a lot of depth there. They didn't get anybody. I'd be shocked.
I mean, I could totally see us going undrafted just because there is so many day 3 linebackers. But there's people like Joe Bocci who is just he's kind of a thumper in the center, is not super athletic, but he played pretty well at Michigan State. I talked about there's a guy called Davion Taylor. They have him as an inside linebacker, but he's really fast, and they put him in a lot of different positions. He could be a day 3 guy. That's nice. One guy that I like that I think is going to be super late because he's like 8th percentile. He's one of the most unathletic linebackers I've ever seen. His name's Woodward. But this guy, and Weaver is very good at reading the play beforehand, but Woodward is one of the best people I've seen at reading during the play. He was facing, I think it was Wake Forest or Virginia. Oh, it was Wake Forest. In that game, he stripped a running back. He stripped the running back again. And then on another play that got called back because of a holding in the secondary, he stripped the quarterback, ran it for 6. So he had 3 forced fumbles and I guess a strip for 6 all in the same game. And he wasn't even moving that fast. He just knows when to tackle, when to go for the ball, when to pull back, when to move. And he's just really intelligent. So he's someone that could be super late that I think could get drafted and do stuff just because he's so intelligent and a cerebral player.
Thanks again to Danny and Craig, Hanz picked, for coming on and breaking it down because they watch a lot more tape than us. And so we appreciate your guys' expertise. And we're going to continue this going. So we're going to put out some more videos of some more positions we've identified as areas of need, including Jimmy's biggest area of need, which is interior offensive linemen. So make sure you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell, and keep watching. And we'll see you next time.